Millionaire overheard his fiancée tell the nanny, "You're not one of us." He acted instantly. Before continue the story, please subscribe to channel Kindness Diaries USA. The morning light poured through the wide glass windows of the Hastings estate, spilling warmth across polished marble floors. The house was silent, except for the soft hum of the fountain in the courtyard and the faint clatter of dishes from the kitchen. Isabella, the nanny, moved quietly through the hallways, balancing a tray of breakfast for little Sophie Hastings. She had worked for Ethan Hastings, the millionaire tech entrepreneur, for nearly 3 years. What began as a temporary job after college had turned into a full-time position. She loved Sophie with all her heart, treating her as if she were her own daughter. Sophie's mother had passed away in a tragic car accident when she was only a toddler. Ethan, crushed but determined, poured himself into raising his daughter and growing his business. But he knew he couldn't do it alone. That's when Isabella came along, kind, patient, and selfless. The Hastings household flourished under her care. She wasn't just a nanny, she was family. At least, that's how Ethan and Sophie felt. But someone else didn't see it that way. Her name was Vanessa Caldwell, Ethan's fiancée. Vanessa was breathtakingly beautiful, the kind of woman who looked like she had stepped out of a fashion magazine. She came from an old money family and carried herself like royalty to the public. She was the perfect match for Ethan, glamorous, poised, and well-connected. But behind closed doors, Isabella often noticed a cold glint in her eyes, especially when directed at her. For months, Vanessa tolerated Isabella's presence with forced politeness. But beneath the surface, her disdain festered. She couldn't stand the way Sophie clung to Isabella more than to her. She despised that Ethan trusted Isabella's judgment over her own. In Vanessa's eyes, Isabella was just a help. And one morning, Isabella would hear the words that revealed everything. The whisper in the hallway. It was just after breakfast. Sophie was upstairs in her room, showing Isabella the new picture she had drawn. Vanessa entered with her signature click of designer heels. "Darling," she cooed at Sophie, "why don't you go show Daddy your drawing? He's in his study." Sophie's face lit up, and she dashed out of the room, her drawing clutched in her tiny hands. Isabella started to follow, but Vanessa's hand shot out, blocking her. "We need to talk," Vanessa said smoothly. Isabella paused, shifting uneasily. "Of course." Vanessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. She lowered her voice, though the words dripped with venom. "You don't belong in this family." The words cut through Isabella like a blade. "What?" she whispered, stunned. "You heard me," Vanessa said, crossing her arms. "You may have fooled Ethan into thinking you're indispensable, but you're not. You're just a nanny. You're paid to be here. Don't confuse that with being part of this family." Isabella's chest tightened. She tried to keep her composure, but the sting of humiliation was unbearable. "I've cared for Sophie since she was 2. Vanessa laughed bitterly. "Exactly. And she's gotten far too attached. It's unhealthy. Once we're married, things will change. She needs to learn who her real family is, and it's not you." For a moment, Isabella couldn't breathe. She felt her throat constrict as Vanessa leaned closer, her perfume heavy and suffocating. "You'll be gone within a year," Vanessa whispered. "Ethan will see things my way. Enjoy your position while it lasts." With that, she brushed past Isabella, leaving her trembling. But what neither woman realized was that Ethan had been standing just outside the doorway. He had come up to see Sophie's drawing, and what he overheard made his blood run cold. Ethan's choice. Ethan Hastings was not a man easily shaken. He had built his empire from nothing, clawing his way up through determination and grit. But at that moment, he was speechless. The cruelty in Vanessa's voice replayed in his head. "You don't belong in this family." Isabella did belong, more than Vanessa ever could. She had been there through Sophie's tears, fevers, nightmares, and milestones. She had been Ethan's quiet anchor when grief threatened to consume him. She was the reason Sophie still laughed after losing her mother. And Vanessa had just revealed the truth he had been too blind to see. Taking a deep breath, Ethan stepped into the room. Isabella quickly wiped her eyes and forced a smile for him, but he had already seen her pain. Isabella, he said softly, could you take Sophie outside for a bit? I need to have a word with Vanessa. She nodded quickly, eager to escape the tension, and left the room. Vanessa, on the other hand, smiled triumphantly, mistaking Ethan's calm tone for approval. What is it, darling? She purred, stepping closer. But Ethan's expression was cold, his voice steady and sharp. I heard everything. Vanessa froze. You spoke to Isabella with such cruelty. In my house. About my daughter's nanny, the woman who has given more love to Sophie than you ever have. And you think you'll decide who belongs in this family. His voice rose, fury breaking through. You're wrong. Vanessa's face paled. Ethan, you don't understand. She manipulates you. She makes herself seem irreplaceable. Stop. His voice cracked like a whip. Isabella doesn't manipulate anyone. She has stood by me and Sophie through everything. You, on the other hand, just revealed exactly who you are. Her mask slipped, desperation leaking into her voice. But Ethan, I love you. No, he shook his head. You love the idea of me. The money, the lifestyle. But you don't love my daughter, and you certainly don't respect the people I care about. That makes this engagement a mistake. Vanessa gasped. You can't be serious. It's over. His tone was final. For a long, tense moment, Vanessa stared at him in disbelief. Then, with a sharp cry of outrage, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Later that afternoon, Ethan found Isabella in the garden with Sophie, blowing bubbles in the sunshine. Sophie giggled as she chased them, her laughter pure and untroubled. Ethan's heart softened. He walked over and crouched beside Isabella. She looked up nervously. Mr. Hastings. Ethan, he corrected gently, you've earned the right to call me by my name 1,000 times over. Her lips trembled, and she nodded. I overheard what Vanessa said, he continued, and I want you to know she was wrong. You do belong in this family, more than she ever could. Tears welled in Isabella's eyes. I never wanted to cause trouble. You didn't, he interrupted firmly. You've only ever brought light to this house. Isabella, I don't think I've ever thanked you properly. For everything. For saving Sophie's childhood. For saving me. Her breath caught. She didn't know what to say. Sophie ran up then, clutching Ethan's hand. Daddy, did you see the bubbles? Bella makes the best ones. Ethan smiled down at his daughter, then at Isabella. Yes, sweetheart, he said softly. She does. As the sun dipped lower, painting the garden in golden hues, Ethan realized something he should have known all along. The woman who truly belonged in his life wasn't the glamorous fiancée he almost married. It was the quiet, devoted nanny who had been there from the very beginning. And this time, he wasn't going to let her go.